All right, so the project at hand is working on this enclosed trailer. Going to be changing our brakes and the, hang on, what the heck did I just do? Changing our brakes, bearings, and drums on these trailers. Kind of some preventive maintenance. So here's our new parts here. New drum, new backing plate, bearings and seals. I think you can see that. What the heck is happening to this camera? I don't know, this gimbal's wonky. It is working though. Inner bearing, outer bearing, and a seal. I got my fancy seal pressing tool. It's just an oil filter wrench that happens to fit over the seal perfectly, opposed to using a socket. So, I already did this other side. Take a quick look at these ones. So they lay on the floor. So here's the old, let me bring this outside so we can really look at it. Here's the old backing plate. It doesn't look that bad, but there's definitely some stuff wrong with it. I'll have to show you the new magnet. It's all pretty dirty back here. I don't know if you guys can see how thick the pad is. The pad's still got some decent meat on it, but these magnets are completely shot. I don't know if you can see there's a little hole right at the tip of my finger there. There's typically 4 holes on these in all 4 corners. Those are your wear marks. That way you can see how much this magnet's worn down. So how this works is there's a drum that goes over top of this. When the drum spins, this stays where it is, stationary, and the drum spins. When you hit the brakes, it energizes this magnet, and this magnet pulls over to the drum. It grabs onto the drum. Obviously, you can see here it wears the surface out, and it pulls this entire arm, and that separates your brake shoes, and then puts pressure on these. So when this gets pulled, this moves and just expands everything and grabs. But these magnets are shot. And when these magnets go bad, typically the drum goes bad because it gets all grooved. So I was going to just change magnets and drums, save some money. But when I priced out just magnets alone versus this whole assembly, the magnet was 28 bucks, the whole assembly was 69. That gets me new shoes, new springs. This is the adjuster. These are self-adjusting. The way to tell, self-adjusting has this cable here that comes across, and it typically has like a little bar here that pushes down. Basically, it just turns this and makes it wider. That's how you adjust them from the back. There's 2 holes here. You stick a tool in there. I'm not really set on these things yet. The new ones have our manual adjusting. So we'll see how I like those. I'm not sure yet. Like I said, self-adjusting is nice because you don't have to adjust anything. But they stink because sometimes they over adjust, or when you go to pull the drum off, you can't pull it off. Here's this drum I was talking about, the groove. I don't know if you can really see it on the camera, but man, I can feel it. This is somewhat smooth. Now we got some grooves on the outside edge, and this is a really deep groove right in the center. So that's no good. So just makes the most, for us, the most economical sense to just change everything. I'm going to change it one time for the year and not have to deal with it again. So that's kind of my theory on it. I'm looking for something to kind of prolong our life on the road for the year and have no breakdowns, minimal breakdowns as possible. So that's why when I do this, I just change the whole thing. Let's see. There's the little wear marks. You can see the holes, the little cutouts there in that one. There's no cable. You can see that, so this isn't self-adjusting. Manual adjusting. The thing I like about the manual adjusting is that you can control how much pressure you want. So unlike the self-adjusting, you can kind of only wrench those one way. They don't really go backwards very easy. This one you can just adjust however you want. So we're going to have to do that after this is all said and done. But all right, let's get into this. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is remove the wheel. Obviously, I got the thing jacked up already. Just using a DeWalt impact, the 3/4 inch socket. If you're just, in some cases, if you're just going to inspect the brakes, you don't have to take the wheel off. You can take the drum and wheel off as one. In this case, it has a nice little hubcap cover, so I had to take the wheel off. But you could leave that on and take the center off. Sometimes it gets a castle nut. This one's not a castle nut. They got some different setup I actually kind of like. But anyway, sometimes you can just take the dust cover off, the castle nut off, and you can pull the whole tire and drum off in one piece. I only do that for checking things over. But in this case, we're replacing, so I'm going to take off more. Alright, so next I just grab a pair of channel locks for this dust cap. Grab it, rock it back and forth, it's off. When I'm doing all this, I'm looking at the tires on the trailer. This one's got torsion axles. This trailer has torsion axles, so it's not a... There's no springs and stuff to look at on this. Everything's... Actually, this is... The dealer kind of down-talked torsion axles. I kind of like the setup, to be honest with you. It's a very clean mount. So now I'm just going to get some of this grease off here so I can see what I'm grabbing. Okay. I'm going to put a clean paper towel down, make sure my tool doesn't have any dirt on it, and start grabbing stuff. This is kind of this castle nut, a lock for the nut so it won't spin back off. Just grab that. That comes off. That just grips onto the nut, the axle nut. That one's already loose. In this case, this is a SureTrack trailer with, I don't even know what axles are on here. Torsion axles, an 1.5 inch axle nut. That comes off. Sometimes, like I talked about, oops, this nut's a castle nut. You got to pull a cotter key out first, and then spin the nut off. This one doesn't have that, which is kind of convenient. And I just pull that out. Typically, there's a spacer on top of the bearing, probably stuck together with the bearing. That comes off. There's your drum. Again, rough surface on that, so it is what it is. I'm gonna grab another rag. Nice little light I got at Harbor Freight. It's metal, 270-degree angle. Pretty nice. The one Buddy Dan got me off Amazon to stop working. So got a magnetic base, which is convenient for tossing up there. Maybe you can see it better now. Oh yeah, you definitely can see better now. Okay, so I just grabbed a can of WD-40. I like to spray these 5 nuts down on here on the backing plate to hold that on. Do that early, let them soak in a little bit. That's not because it helps them get loose, it just helps them slide off the end of my socket. The next thing I'm going to do whenever I find them, the next thing I like to do is go back behind. You got to cut these wires on the back side. Let me bring it back there, you can see it. Maybe if I can fit you in there. There's 2 wires back there. I don't know how well you can see that. My camera's on its side now. But I like to cut those as close to where they come out of the backing plate. That way I have as much wire as I need. And this tripod doesn't get any smaller, so that's all we can do. But this wire right here, 2 of them go out the back. I'm going to cut them right on the back side of that backing plate. And go from there. Okay, that's cut. Now I'm going to get my smaller impact. This is just a 14mm with an extension on it. Spin those off. The problem, these have these little star ends on them. They get stuck on the end of the gun. That's why I sprayed them with WD-40 first, because that's annoying. Okay. Once they're loose, you can take them off by hand most of the time. Okay. Oops. Where'd that one go? Didn't hit the ground. Oh. There she is. Alright, and that's the backing plate off. Toss that out of the way with the drum, because those are garbage. Take a clean rag now, or somewhat clean. I'm going to use a clean one to really finish this off, but I'm trying to get all this dirt. A lot of brake dust back here. And then clean up all these surfaces here. Get all the... I'm kind of using a dirty rag right now just to get the bulk of the grease off. And then I'm going to get a clean rag and really divvy it up. Once it's all done, this one's pretty clean. Alright, so that's done now. Bring it over on this side. So you can see these. Here's the two wires I was talking about. What I'm going to do now is strip the ends of them so that when I get underneath there to clean them up or to hook them up, I'm not fumbling around with a wire stripper. Let's pull these out. They're 12 gauge. Strip and wrap. And wrap. Alright, let's go look at these drums. Alright, well, let me just move these to get out of my way. Alright, so for the drums, just trying to make some room here. The drums, I always start with the back side. Getting the bearing in those. These bearings I've already packed. What I take is I have some grease tubes, and sometimes they get crushed because Aaron throws them around, and they're no good in the gun anymore. They get oblong or whatever. They don't work in the gun, so I keep them, and I cut them in half, and then I'll dig my finger in there and pack these bearings. But you can see these are already packed. I shove it in that way. Shove it in the front, roll it through all the things so they're nice and greasy, as the Trailer Park Boys would say. Pop her in, pretty easy. Then I grab my seal. I gotta grease this edge of the seal, but it doesn't stop me from installing it. Now I take my trusty rusty seal tool. Everything's a seal tool if you make it. I don't know what happened there, I lost you, but anyway, you can use a regular socket if you got one that's big enough. It's like 2.5 inches, so I didn't have a 2.5 inch socket, but I had this. And it worked. It's important that you don't use just a hammer on these things. You gotta have something like this. Works good because this is recessed a little bit, so you don't want to damage this metal ring. I did buy a seal puller just in case I needed it for this. Alright, so let's get back to the truck, or the trailer. Alright, we're back at the axle now. Now when they sell brake assemblies like this, like I said, it's a little bit more economical. If the magnet's 30 bucks and the whole entire assembly is 70, then man, it's almost half the cost. And I'm getting new springs, new shoes, the whole 9 yards. And it's a lot easier to change in my opinion. Five bolts, or 5 nuts, you got the nuts off and you're good to go. You slam it back together quickly. So you see I already cleaned up the surface, cleaned up the shaft, Check the shaft for any nicks, damage, cracks. We've had them crack before. That kind of stinks. I had to replace the whole entire axle. So this is the kind of stuff I'm looking for. Then I'm just going to take my new assembly here, slide it over. One thing I wanted to note, and that's why I started talking about this, these are left and right, or it would only work in reverse. If you put a left on the right side of the trailer, it would only work in reverse, which is kind of useless. So make sure you get 2 of each or 1 of each or whatever you need. You have to ask for left or right. Sometimes they sell them as a complete set. So we're just going to bolt this back together now. Then I'll put my drum bell on. This is part of my winter maintenance. Actually, we're in March now, but we don't need these mowing trailers yet anyway. My winter maintenance type deal, these are the last things that get done in the mowing trailers because they're typically the last thing we need for the year is the mowing trailers. And all these mowers that are sitting behind me that need to be serviced still. We got a couple weeks at least before we need them. It's about 65 degrees today, but we haven't had any rain. So we got a bunch of fires from how dry it is and just spontaneously combusting. You can see that one fought me a little bit. Alright, so I got that on. I put those on like I put a tire on, cross. Keep changing across until you get it tight. This is, I was talking about the grease tube that this one I cut in half and I just reach in and get all that. This one I just pop the top off. Just gonna put a little dab of grease on this so everything slides on and it's not dry. And then I'm gonna just slide a little bit of grease on that seal. Then I like to change my gloves so I have clean gloves.
And they can do it at an extremely affordable rate. They have over 30 years of experience. They've been leading the industry of fabrication and laser cutting right here in Western New York, and now they're offering powder coating for you. Check them out online at customlaserny.com. That's customlaserny.com. Hey, Western New York.
Okay, I got my new drum. Make sure that's seated all the way. Got my other bearing now. This is the outer bearing. The other one I put on the drum was the inner bearing. The inner bearings tend to be bigger. So I'll just toss this one in here. Sometimes you gotta shake the drum to make it fit. So now, grab another fresh glove. Got a very lightly used rag. Just cleaning up the spacer. You can see in this, I guess this would be like a washer. It's got not a perfect circle in the cutout. It's got a flat side to it. There's also a flat side on this axle. So that slides on there first. I like to clean the nut up as well, just so everything's clean. Who knows what got on this when I was taking stuff apart. Put the nut on. Slides on there real nice. It was a little tricky getting it off. Alright, now I got a 1.5-inch socket. Tighten that up. See, that's the brakes dragging. There we go. Just want to snug this up. I don't want any play back and forth or this way. So you want to tighten enough that there's no play, but not too tight that it makes the whole thing drag. I think this one, you can hear it dragging because the because the brakes are tight. Come on. Now I'm putting this castle nut thing on. Oh, okay. You gotta tighten it up a little bit more. So tight and loosen. Same thing with the cotter key. There we go. I had to tighten it up. So everything aligns, basically, is what you need to do. Alright. So now that's done. Got my dust cap, and put that back on real quick. Oops. Okay. Dust cap's back on. Take my gloves off because the greasy work's done now. Alright, well here's our two wires up here that come out of the backing plate, and here's our two wires that come out of the trailer. Just gonna connect them together. It makes no difference which one. One's power, one's ground. It doesn't, at least on this end, doesn't make any difference which one you hook up. As long as power flows through it, you're good. I'd put you underneath there to watch, but there's literally nowhere for me to put this camera, so unfortunately you're going to miss out on that. I am, however, using these, they're called solder and seal. These little things. The edge of it is water, it's a shrink wrap type deal, so it seals everything out, and then the center has a low temperature solder, so I just use a heat gun, and that melts it. Melts it together. I just take the wires, fish them through, mesh them together, and heat them up. Alright, well, you can see everything's back together. My other camera died, so you can see I got my connections made. These wires are kind of a little long, so probably something I might zip tie up, so it's not, I don't want to rip on something, but just be careful what you tie up to. But there's that. Then I just got to put the tire back on and adjust brakes. We'll see if we cover that in this video. I'm not sure. We'll find out here shortly, though. Alright, well, I'm running out of time today, so I'm going to have to come back tomorrow. I got all 4 drums, sets of bearings, seals, and backing plates installed. So I'll come back tomorrow. I got to test them and adjust them. And then there's something else I got to do to this trailer. I got a couple lights to change out. And this one will be ready for the season. Here's a little quick look at our mowing fleet. There's 6 right ZK sitting here. There's a 7th one, a brand new one sitting in the other building. Maybe we'll get some footage of that coming up soon. But all right, we'll catch you tomorrow. All right, I'm going to show you how to adjust these brakes. I figured I'd show you on the bench because underneath the trailer there really isn't a whole lot of there's no good way to mount the camera to show you how to do it, and I think this a visual is better than not being able to see what's actually taking place. So the 2 tools I just use a flat blade screwdriver, and this is a electric brake drum adjusting tool. It kind of has an L shape to it. What I like, you could use a regular screwdriver for this, but I like this tool because it's got a wide blade on it, and when I'm trying to get in position to get in there, this works a lot better than a screwdriver. So just for access reasons, if you have good access, you can certainly use a screwdriver. So this is the top of the drum. This is the bottom of the drum. Your adjuster's at the bottom. So when you're putting them on, mounting them, make sure you have the adjuster at the bottom. And I don't know if I covered it or not, but they do make a left and a right. So make sure you get the right one on the right side. They're normally labeled LH or RH. But this part down here is what we're going to focus on, is the adjuster. What we have to do is open these pads up more to allow them to hit the drum. And I'm certainly not an expert on trailer brakes, but I'll give you the quick rundown. So what we got to do is basically turn this screw here. And you do that by prying on it. I'm looking at the front. So the drum would be spinning on this. And that's how I do it. And then you adjust to where these are just barely dragging, and then turn it off one. Turn it back one. So when you're underneath the trailer, this is what you're going to be looking at. Here's your 2 wires. I don't know if you can see those. I cut them pretty short because I want the wire on the back. There's typically 2 plugs in the back of these. They do that because these back plates are stamped and they're just the same thing, so they just cut a hole out. So in this case, this is a left-hand assembly. This one's different than what I just did. Oh, you know what? These are self-adjusting as well, so it's not really the same. But you pop the cap out, take this tool, and you're basically going to go in there and just pry. And you're going to spin try to find a teeth to spin, and you're going to spin that around and around until it starts dragging. What you're spinning is on the inside, this little screw here, and that's pushing that out, opening this wider so you have the right spacing. So I don't know how that works, but I don't know if you can see that now. Just reaching in there. Like I said, these are self-adjusting. So in the non-self-adjusting, there wouldn't be a bar behind here, and I find that they go easier both ways, rather than the self-adjusting ones that only go tight or open more than the manual adjusting. So you basically just wrench this thing around until you get it to your desired location, and then you're done. I mean, if you really want to learn how to adjust these things better, I'd go find another YouTube video. There's other people out there that certainly can explain this to you much better, but that's my little gist of it. So, all right, now we're getting towards the end of this project. What I like to do that I don't know if anybody really does themselves. Lastly, I'm going to show you how to adjust them here. Or I probably already did. I'm going to chop some stuff together, but I wanted to show you underneath the trailer. My problem is I couldn't get a camera underneath there and mounted properly, so we're just going to show you on one of these old ones. Same concept, just on a different angle. But what I'm doing now is checking to make sure the battery's okay and that the pull cord up front works. So I'm just jacking the trailer off the ground, making sure these spin freely, which they do. And then I just go up here. And this is part of my check to even make sure I got to do it. Pull this pin. Boom, locks up. Can't spin it. That's if the trailer ever came off the truck, that the brakes would lock up. So it's important to check those and check these batteries. I feel like nobody ever checks these batteries to make sure they're still good. So I've been doing that. I don't know if you heard that or not. They just released. And yeah, so last thing I'm going to do is just check these bearings over, or grease these bearings up, grease the tailgate, and whatever. I got some lights to change on this thing, but that's pretty much it. I'm not sure how well you can see in there, but I'm going to be greasing these up now. And let me see if I can get this camera on somewhere better. It's not magnetic, of course. Right in the bottom there, right around it, I'm going to grease them up until grease comes out of that. That way I know that the whole entire seal here is full of grease. I know we're good to mount my light. Oh, there goes the stud in the wall. I'm using one of these lock and lubes. Every freaking time. You hear that? Grease gun's empty. It's funny, I talked about this about 2-3 videos ago. Grease gun's always freaking empty. Perfect example. I don't know if you guys can see in there again. I'm tilting it sideways. Of course, this camera's not going to work, right? See all the black grease across the bottom there? that just pushed through. Kind of, packed the bearing with a grease gun. I spun it around, make sure it's all in there. It's actually pushing more out now. So that's it, all done. All right, so that's gonna wrap up this video. Again, just to recap, I got a Sure Track trailer here. I don't know if I ever mentioned that. This is a Landscape Pro model. It's 8.5 by 20 in the color white. We got our graphics down the side of it. It's got two 5,000-pound axles. Whoops. They are Dexter torsion axles. They do come with a pretty banging warranty. I'm pretty sure like 11 years or something like that. I'm pretty sure I saw somewhere. Torsion axle, 11-year warranty. Obviously not brake parts, but that's a legit project we did. Just talk about that real quick while we're looking at it. I actually took a picture with my iPhone. This is the river here, the Niagara River. This is Canada over here. We're right up on the Canadian border in New York. This pool here is, I can't remember what they call that. It falls, there's a waterfall across this edge here. It falls over the edge. Nice patio around. This set is a set of stairs here that go down to a boat slip underneath the house, and then there's a staircase over here. But yeah, this is like a legit job we did. We still maintain. There's probably pictures of it up on our Instagram somewhere. Got our graphics layout. This was kind of a big deal for us on this graphics layout. Brought us into the brought us into the 21st century with this. You know, we went with something with somewhat of some decent decals on it, but we didn't do a whole entire wrap job because that's too expensive. But this is another project that actually we put all this in back in the day, and all these are real small. I have some pictures of it somewhere. But you can see our hook lift truck. Our Hino's right there. That's our Truck 04 with a open trailer we used to have. In fact, that entire mowing setup right there, gone. We don't have that anymore. My boy Jimbo there, he's gone. He moved on to some other things. But we still maintain this property. So, I mean, kind of, oh man, I keep kicking this tripod. Kind of a basic, but on the high end of the basic. It's not too crazy. Gets the information you need. I should add YouTube to this. Our new trailer, it's over there. It's same idea, but that one has YouTube on it. So, if you made it to the very end, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Make sure to hit that thumbs up button, thumbs down, whatever you want. And as always, hit the subscribe button. That lets me know that you like the videos that I'm putting out. And as always, we'll see you in the next one.